Well, shoot. I'm going to have to turn on some other lights. Okay. Can't even see me. There we go. How's that? I'll put my blanket back on. It's cold in the basement. Okay. There we go. Kyle's here, Connor's here, Tom's here, and Rick is here. What's going on, guys? Duck Cotner Antique Machinery. I don't recognize your name. I don't know if you've commented on any of the videos I've posted, but Weem Deers is here. Or Waymay or Weemy. I can't remember how to pronounce it. Lee Harris is here. Evan is here. Imagine that. PCM Wyman is here. Paul, what's going on, man? Rick, how much have you had to drink so far? Are you playing that board game in your house just for fun or what? Tim is here. Tim, I really enjoy your TikToks. I get them all the time. It cracks me up. That's my avenue to go political on. I get all my frustrations out on TikTok. Look at all those blue wrenches and I don't have one. Hold on, let me just figure out how to do it again. All right, there you go. There's your blue wrench. Actual name is Shane. Oh, okay. Let's see here. Rick's only had a couple. Universal answer's always a couple. Yeah, that's what happened last night. Stopped by for a couple. Corbin, first time watching. Welcome, bud. How am I feeling? I'm feeling much, much, much better. I just took my last dose of ivermectin, and they also put me on a anti-inflammatory because my throat was so swollen. So after I took that anti-inflammatory and ivermectin, I'm great. I feel just fine. My daughter seems to be doing well. She's got kind of a raspy cough still. But my wife, she found out today she is COVID positive. So it's running through the whole family now. And she's vaccinated. So, Martin, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Nick's Team Toys and More is here. Hey, if you guys haven't checked out Nick's Team Toys, go check his channel out. He's got a bunch of cool um, videos, not only from shows, but just of his own personal miniature Steam items. So if you're into Steam, go check out Nick's channel. He's got some good stuff over there. So it was a bit. Yeah, I bet it was more than a couple. I think we could use the term a few. Connor says he still hasn't heard from the machine shop on the Super M. I was actually going to ask you about that just for sakes of the live stream. I don't, it doesn't bother me. It's still freaking minus 20 out, so it doesn't bother me. I'm not going to be out there anyways. Spent my whole day working on my truck's rear axle. That does not sound fun. It's like I tell my wife, I love wrenching on tractors, but I hate working on cars because I wrench on tractors because I enjoy it. I wrench on cars because I have to. I don't like it. I don't. It's when you have to do something, it's a chore. The tractor show fever itch is in full swing. Sure is. I can't wait to just see grass. I sound better. I had a pretty deep voice. Yeah, that's. I think that's because my throat was so swollen. Usually, I get that deeper voice. I mean, obviously, early in the morning, and if I'm super tired, I have a deeper voice. But or if I'm hungover, that usually does it. But that's I'm never hungover anymore. So let's see. Beats having a blast. Awesome night, Connor, Rick, then Kenny. Hey, I'm just happy to be part of the crowd, man. Kyle wants to know where I'm located. I am about, let's see. Well, if you know where Blaine is, I'm just north of Blaine. Got a center section, so it'll be posi, not one wheel drive. Careful on them corners. Limited slip or solid posi. Been trying to rewire my Super M, and that's getting annoying real fast. Is it getting annoying because it's cold, or is it getting annoying because it's cumbersome? Yeah, I hear you, Duncan. It's Duncan says, hoping you all get through this illness quickly and easily. Too cold here for the bugs. You're telling me, man. I wish we didn't have all this crap going around, but it's. I guess I wouldn't be outside too much, anyways, with the temperatures. But Brian says, "What's going on?" Brian's in the house. Brian, I actually ran into at. I think we first met at Almaland, and he does a lot of carburetor restoration stuff too. So go check out Brian's channel. They worked on a Farm All H a little bit and did some. I think they did some front bolster rebuild and some other stuff on it. So he's got a variety of shop items on his channel. So go check him out too. I actually Domino borrowed me a kerosene torpedo heater, but for one thing, I had a friend actually asphyxiate himself, so I get a little bit paranoid using those torpedo heaters, and I just plus you have to have the door open for ventilation, and when it's -20 plus a -40 wind chill, it's having the door open with that little torpedo heater don't really do much for you. So I also have a propane one that one of the viewers actually sent me, and I think I'd probably be okay with that without having the door open, at least for a little while. But I would still be paranoid about it. So I'm trying to catch up here. Solid posi. Um, Hans from Tractor Hoarders is here. Also, if you haven't checked out Hans's channel, Tractor Hoarders, check him out. He's got a lot of cool stuff over there. Plus, he invited me over to his place out in the Colorado high desert to do some tractor, and that video is on my channel. Plus, he's also got one on his. So you guys don't forget to go check him out. He's got all kinds of tractor videos, mostly John Deere stuff, but he's got a couple of other ones. Ford. He's got a couple farmalls. So make sure you get over there and check that out. Duck's got or Shane, I should say, he's got a teaser spring that he needs to put in a 61 Cub Cadet. Never done that. Never even worked on a Cub. Worked on a mag and a carburetor for a Cub, but never the tractor itself. Use a normal kerosene heater that's meant for a house but works fine for the shop. Yeah, I don't know if I could do that for my garage. I think it'd probably be strictly against code. Get a CO detector and let her rip. I guess there's that. Yeah, I see a lot of, um, along the eaves of the roof there through the soffit. I see a lot of venting, but I'm just not comfortable running it in my garage like that. Just because of my personal experience with a friend. So just I don't. You want to do it? That's fine. I'm just not comfortable doing it, especially if I'm here by myself. So because I tend to get distracted and too involved in what I'm doing. Brad's got a W30 he's working on that's really close to running. Those are really cool tractors. Kind of the predecessor to the W6 or the standard version of the Farm All M. Rowan's watching. Hi Rowan, how you doing? Too bad too bad we couldn't all go out to the land and play. I think you guys were probably in school when your dad and I went out there, and then we went out to dinner after, but they must have been in school or pretty close. Unless they get out of school earlier than we do, but oh man, we had a blast out there, Paul. Plus the scenery. I mean, how can you beat going across the high plains desert out there in the Rocky Mountains? I mean, but man, I'll tell you that dirt, that mud that they have out there is something different. It's like Vaseline and clay mixed together. It's like super slick, but it packs in everything. Logan says they used a torpedo heater, then it burst the shop down, so it went bye bye. Well, I think the one that Domino is letting me use, I think the fan is pretty much burnt up in it. So you got to sit and mess with it to get the fan to go, and it's not probably not the safest. Brian says he's got two Zenith K5 carburetors to do sandblast tomorrow. I've done a few of those. I've done a few of those. They're a unique carburetor for sure. No problem, Hans. Hey, I'm just a guy, Rowan, just like your dad. So nothing special. Just a goofball on YouTube doing tractor stuff. Oh yeah, I have natural gas. I'm hooked right to the city pipeline. I could get an old house furnace, but my garage isn't that big. It's only a two-car garage, so I'm just gonna get a 30 to 50,000 BTU garage heater, and that was my plan before we started working on Connor's tractor was to get the garage finish insulated and sheetrocked, and then install a heater. But I had to take all the shelves down to install the heater, or at least half of them, and kind of redo how I had some of that stuff because the heater's going in a specific spot, and I got to run the fuel line, and I have to do all that stuff yet. So it's not really worth putting a heater out there without the garage being insulated. Pete says, I got messed up from a heater in his dad's shop 25 years ago. Still scared of them. Yeah. I had a friend that literally died because, well, it was a friend's dad, but same. But yeah, he literally died in the garage. Jeff Weinstock, how you doing? Welcome. Brian likes rebuilding the K5s best of all. I do enjoy rebuilding them. They're a unique carburetor, and although some of the passages, one in particular, can be quite tricky to get cleaned out, but yeah, Brad, that's pretty much what I'm planning on doing is an overhead gas, furnace or heater, I guess you'd call it. Logan says the amount of knowledge of tractors he has is starting to get a little ridiculous. Man, knowledge ain't a bad thing. I still remember part numbers from a job I had when I was 18 years old. I mean, stuff. I used to work for a company called Radco Truck Accessories. So we did a lot of truck accessories. And, tonneau cover parts, step bars, molding numbers for truck caps, and I mean, all kinds of stuff. I remember part numbers for part num part numbers for parts on toppers or on truck caps. I mean, it's insane what your brain retains when you do it day after day after day for years. The big shop at the farm is heated by a Stoker coal stove. Well, it'd be nice to have a big shop. Brian says he mounted a furnace horizontally. It lies above the garage door. It's great. Plus, in my town, my code, there has to be 8 feet of return air duct. Huh. I don't even know what my code is. I'm not crazy about propane torpedo heaters either. If the power fails, it shoots out a bright orange flame until the gas safety shutoff kicks in. Oh, that's good to know. My furnace does not take any wall space or space that is used for shelves. It's all up on the sheetrock. Gotcha. I mean, I could put the furnace pretty much anywhere so it's not interfering with the shelves, but I have enough shelf space as it is. I mean, I put shelves all over that shed. I still have more shelves I can put up in the garage, so I'm just gonna basically so it's gonna go in a front corner of my wall. So I just need to do this with the shelves. So I have that open area around it. So I'll only lose probably about 4 feet of shelf space, or I'm only going to separate it a distance of about 4 feet. So I'm not really losing any. I just need to move them. Plus, then I don't have to run, copper line all over the place because that wall where I want to put it is right on the other side of my utility room. So yeah, Logan, exactly. They want you to open the door for ventilation, but when it's minus 40 wind chill, you're not going to keep a whole lot of heat in there, especially with open open rafters and eaves. I mean, it's gonna push the heat right out. That cold air is just gonna force it out of the eaves on the roof. No such thing as enough shelf space. I know. That's why I want another shop. Well, that's not the only reason, but the primary reason is I want someplace to put my stuff inside and eventually heat and It'd be nice to have a hoist in there so I don't have to roll underneath my vehicle when I have to fix them. But, wish in one hand and check with my building inspector first. You want your furnace inspected and approved. You may have to have a certain amount of return air duct like I had to do. See, I don't even know that much about, um, well, heaters and furnaces and anything like that. I can fix and do just about anything, but I don't know squat about codes and anything like that. So I would have to get all that information anyway. Like just for me to build a shed, technically I'm against the city code in more ways than one, but there's never anybody out here. We live in a very, I mean, this neighborhood's been here for 25 to 30 years, and it's very rare that the city inspector comes driving around here unless he has a reason to. And even still, I mean, there's way worse things in our neighborhood that he would be worried about than where my shed is. And if I have to move it, I have to move it. I have to cut a tree down, but I can move it. It's on skids. When we moved in, I had to put a sub panel in my garage because all my breaker slots were full. So, in order to run my air compressor, because there was no 220 circuit or 240 circuit in the garage, so I had to install a sub panel and then do a jumper over to the sub panel. And I learned all that on YouTube. I mean, I think it's up to code. Everything works fine. So I don't know if it's exactly correct as far as code goes, but everything works. How to get around city code. Step one, move to the country. Yeah, I don't know if you've looked at home prices lately, but it's not exactly a buyer's market. So, Brad said in Oak Grove, he's not even sure if they have one. And if there is, you can bet he ain't going to call them. Do you have a city hall? If you have a city hall in Oak Grove, then you'll have an inspector or a city offices building. I just put a hot dog heater in and no ductwork, just the exhaust vent and gas line. See, that's something that I'm talking about. I just needed to get to 50 degrees in there. I don't need it to be 75. Farmall H27 from Arkansas. Hollis says hi. What's going on, Hollis? How you doing? I'm glad my furnace is inspected and approved. Now, when I move, it's 100% legal and ready. Oh yeah, I want it to be inspected. I just need to get somebody out here. So Kyle says they make double breakers where two take the spot of one. Oh, didn't know that. Shane says just got done with a 65 Cub Cadet 100 with a rare rear factory power takeoff. That would come in handy. What air compressor do I have? That's there's a video on my channel that shows how I put it together. If you search for like air compressor or something on my channel, you'll find it. But it's a Husky 60-gallon tank, and then I pulled the motor and pump off of a Sanborn. So it's a 3 horsepower motor, and the pump, I don't know what the CFMs are of the pump, but it was originally on one of those lay down tanks. It's probably like a 20-gallon tank, 25-gallon tank, something like that. And I put it on a 60-gallon tank, and it runs fine. But the electric motor recently went kaputski. The bearings are just terrible in it, and I figured instead of tearing it apart and replacing the bearings, I might as well replace the motor because I got that stuff all for free, except for the tank. The Husky tank I paid like $80 for. So, but any oiled air compressor, stay away from the oilless air compressors. They're, from what I understand, they're just junk. I mean, if you're in a pinch, they work great, but for longevity, you got to get an oiled pump air compressor. Pete, I hear you, man. Codes are, it's just another way for them to not allow you to do what you want to do with your property that you paid for. But I understand if you're in the city, I get it, but PTO turns the wrong direction. They must have just had special implements just for that tractor then. Bob's in the house. Bob's working on a Super A. Him and I have been talking a lot. Hope your wife is okay. Yeah, she's doing fine. She's sick, but she's got COVID. So it's gone through the family all the way now. Me, it's gone through at least twice. What's the best way to flush the hydraulics in this Super A? Rebuilt the pump today. Well, if you rebuilt it, it should all be clean, right? So are you trying to flush the lines that go from the pump to the reservoir? I mean, you want to know my honest answer? The best way to do it would be to take it apart and clean it out, but um, that's what I would do. But um, as far as flushing those lines, you could get just some lacquer thinner or brake cleaner or whatever, and put a bunch of it down in that line and swish it back and forth. If you can find a long wire brush, you could use that to scrub those lines out, the steel lines that go from the reservoir to the pump. Had a former city inspector move out here. He threatened to call the inspector on us. All we do is say is good luck. Hey, I wish that's how it worked out here. 1928 Farmall Ben is in the house. He's in the process of trying to get a 1020 McCormick, but um, lack of communication, I think. Kent's in the house. Iron Man's in the house. Alan's in the house. Ignorant question from a foreigner. What is the talk about codes and inspectors? Um, City inspectors basically enforce building codes and all kinds of um, requirements that the city has based on the zoning regulations, which is whether it's zoned as city, or I guess urban would be the term, suburban, semi-rural, and rural. So there's different things they'll allow you to do based on how old the house is, how big the property is, how much building is on the property, percentage wise. There's they enforce electrical rules and plumbing rules and septic rules and all kinds of stuff, framing rules. I mean, just there's so many rules here. It's ridiculous. I mean, they're there for a reason. There's a lot of safety behind it, but some of them are just like, come on. It's just a lot of them are just a tax scheme, is all it is. Like if you have a ceiling in your above your pole barn that's over 7.5 feet, it's considered a living space, so they'll tax you more on it. I mean, stupid stuff like that. Yeah, I'm looking at Kyle's comment here. He says the old compressors are the best. I was actually going to buy an 80-gallon, but I might get a secondary tank if I get a different shop. I mean, I guess I could put something up in the rafters and pipe it down, but uh, who wants to do all that work, because then when you got to move, if you move, then you got to tear that tank out of the ceiling or leave it. I mean, I would take it with me, but I'm a guy that likes to keep his tools, you know. The early Cub Cadets has a rear end out of a Cub. Hmm, interesting. See, yeah, Brad, he agrees. Take that apart and clean it out. That's the best way to do it on that Super A. Brent wants to know if anybody wants to buy a Ford 8N. Hey, if I was in the business of buying tractors right now, I would buy it from you, but can't buy anything right now. Still in that no buy-in zone. Yeah, Martin, we are killed by rules. There's, that's, say what you want about President Trump, but that's one of the things he talked about in his campaign and in his throughout his presidency is we have too many rules. That's why all the companies that are based here do not manufacture here because we have too many rules. We make it too expensive for people to produce. Connor's out. All right, thanks Connor. Thanks for stopping by. Sorry I missed your live stream again. I was hanging out with Raylan, so Kent says that's right. It's the same rear end. That I didn't know that. I never would have thought that a garden tractor was going to have the same rear end as an actual Cub. I mean, if it's like the 184 hydros or whatever, I could see it on there, but that's a hydro transmission. So, Brent, there's always someone that wants to buy an 8M, but it isn't me. Brian says at Farmall Ben, do you have a carburetor for your 1020? Well, he hasn't gotten the 1020 yet, but there is a carb on it in the photo. He's trying to get his hands on a 1020. Still haven't gotten back the stuff from the machine shop, Brent, for the Super M. Still waiting on it. So still at a standstill. We can't really order parts till we know what size bearings we need and everything else. So what do I think about getting a carport to use as a shop? Um, for me, no, not gonna do it just because the amount of I mean, if you're looking at a steel carport, you pay quite a bit for them, and I just don't want to invest $1,000 to $2,000 in a steel carport when that's half the price of a concrete pad. When I could just pour the pad and then start building the shop. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I look at it. I've spent so much money in the past on things I wanted, but they weren't really the things I wanted. You know what I mean? So I've learned at this stage in my life to just dial it back some and just wait and not spend the money until I got the money to do what I want, if that makes sense. Brad says, we talked at Almalin and you mentioned you wanted a regular. Do you find one yet? I've found a few when I'm interested. I haven't been looking. Well, I shouldn't say that. I always look, but I'm right now, I'm not in the position to buy anything. It's not that I don't have the money, it's just there's things going on in my life right now that I'm not going to commit to any bringing any new projects home. Um, but I would definitely, if I were to get another F series or regular, I would try my best to find a narrow tread because that's what I really wanted was a narrow tread F20, ultimately a narrow tread regular, but they're pretty hard to find in a regular. Is it cold up here? Yeah, it's cold. I don't know what the temperature is, but it's way below zero. I know that. Kyle's taking off. Little girl's having a fuss. All right, Kyle. Thanks for stopping by, man. Tractor Hyatt's in the house. What's going on, Hyatt? How's Monica? Brad's got a narrow tread F20. Don't be tempting me now. Brent says he hates Ford 8Ns. Been working on one for a week and he'll stick with real tractors. Oof. I don't know. I rode Hans over at Tractor Hoarders. I was impressed with how quiet that thing was. I mean, it is whisper quiet and it ran smooth. I mean, I've never used one, so I don't really know. The only thing I didn't really like about it was I wasn't a big fan of the seating position. Like, you were kind of in that forward seated, when you're sitting up and forward, kind of in that position. I didn't really care for that, or the clutch and brakes. How you that I didn't really care for that, but other than that, I mean, it seemed like a really good running tractor. Got to put that Farm All Regular book I gave you to good use, Kenny. Yeah, no kidding. I've got a lot of books that people have sent me over the years, both from the channel and then just being younger, people trying to help me out. They've sent me a lot of books to get me going on things, and trust me, man, a narrow tread Farm All Regular, a Spoker D John Deere, that's like my honeypot right there. If I could get a Spoker D all original, no, I don't want any paint or nothing. If I could still read the silk screen on the hood, that's my stuff right there. I wanna preserve something like that. Shane's got a narrow track regular that was shipped to Argentina and shipped back. That's probably a pretty neat conversation piece. Brad says he knows where there's a narrow tread with a factory wide front end. That's a rare piece. I think I think Dwayne Hansford over at Rustic Red Acres has got one of those. I think it's a duckbill F22. Duckbill narrow tread wide front. I'm pretty sure the one that Dwayne Hansford has. Hans says the clutch and brake pedal situation on the 9N and 2N is not ideal. It's a little more friendly on the 8N. And you've got a 9N, right, Hans? Or is it an 8N? I can't remember. Again, I can't. Those 8N, 9N, 2Ns, they all look the same to me. Oh, it's a 2N. See, I was wrong either way. Shane says, then it was used on a golf course for a while as a fairway tractor. I've heard of a few of those too. A factory wide front regular would be very rare, yes. Hyatt, glad to hear that Monica's doing great. Here's a wave, Monica. Kent, glad you're feeling better after a head cold. I mean, getting sick is never fun. And then when you test positive for COVID because of all the hype and media craze about it, your mind starts whirling like, oh man, is this going to be bad? Or, even though I've already had COVID 2 to 3 times, it's just, you gotta just put it out of your mind and just fight it. I mean, you're sick. You just got to fight it. Anyway, Kenny, I know where there's a narrow F20 up by me. I'll ask him about it. Hey, I'm all about opportunity, but like I said, unless it's like a smoking deal or something he's going to hang on to for a while, and then maybe. But 9N was first, then the wartime 9N was called the 2N, then the 8N came around afterwards. Well, Hans was telling me there's also something different with the steering bracing. Like one's got a rectangle tube, another's an I-beam type, like cast I-beam. Another one's like an oval tube. I don't know. I don't know the difference. I don't know if the engine sizes are different or if they're all the same displacements. Exactly. Just because it ain't COVID don't mean it won't kick your butt. That's right. Yeah, that narrow tread F30. Ben was trying to get his hands on one, and the auction just went a little higher than he was able to do. So, my daughter Hyatt wants to know how my daughter and wife are doing. My daughter's doing just fine. She's great, and then my wife is. It's pretty much just like a head cold for her. So it affects everybody differently. Some people it doesn't affect at all. The N series has way too fast reverse. I'm gonna put mine through the garage door one day blading snow. Well, I hope you got insurance at least. Brad says he's trying to convince a guy to sell him an F30 Nero with a bad engine and busted pedestal. But if he can get it, he's going to take his F30 apart and swap parts. Hey, not a bad idea. Those F30s are a wide tractor if they're not a narrow tread, man. They're wide. Logan says he saw a weird thing the other day. It was a narrow front 86 Series International with a mounted two-row sweet picker on it. That is interesting. I don't think I've ever seen that. I mean, I've seen narrow front 86 series, but I've never seen one with a two-row picker. Yeah, Brent, her temp got up to 105, but she takes after me. When I get a good illness, my temp is up there. I've been over 104 probably 4 or 5 times in my life. So that I know of. Show the 8N some respect. They made over 500,000 of them. I don't know. They made a lot of Farm All H's. Not a 500,000, but pretty close. Pete says he knows he'll sell it. He'll find out about it next weekend. All right. It's worth a shot. You know how to get a hold of me. Brad says it barely fits on his trailer, the F30, and it's 102 inches wide. So the F30's got to be 112, something like that. They're wide. There's a guy on YouTube. I I want to say Machinery Pete did a tour of his collection, but he put a M rear half on an F30 front half and an H rear half on an F20 front half. Pretty interesting tractor. He's got a huge collection too, but some unique ones in there. If you guys haven't seen it, I would recommend it. It's pretty cool. I was kind of freaked out when I saw the article on the H farm. All that went for 40 grand. I think that had a lot to do with two people that had sentimental value in it, if I remember correctly, something like that. But it was a very cool, well preserved tractor for sure. Original tires, original muffler, still had original stickers, aftermarket stickers on the toolboxes and stuff, like the dealer stickers and everything. Very, very well preserved. But $40,000, I don't know, that's a lot. For an H, that's a lot. But people got money, so Pete says he's working at North Shore Mine. You should have drove by and honked, Rick. The Club SC, is that original paint on it? No, no. You can see brush strokes in it, and if it was original paint, you'd still be able to read the decals for sure. There'd still be some type of decaling on it. So no, it's not original. Seen a guy make a Super HTA with Super H and a 350. Oh yeah, I've seen one all the time. Actually, Squatch, he's got a video on his channel of a Super H TA diesel that was out of a 350 diesel tractor with basically Super H tin work on it. 50 more miles, you could have heard me say, for fuck's sake, out of Ford 8N and drank beer. Yeah, Brent's right up in Grand Marais, right, Brent? Yeah, Logan, that's true. It even had the cloth tape that held the spark plug wires together at the factory. You're right on that one. Oh, let's see. Something I mentioned over on Rick's channel, and I think I've brought this up um, in many other wrenching videos working in the garage. Um, oh, 5 miles up to Gunflint. Shoot, we drove right by your place when we went and got married, Brent. We got married and had our kind of mini honeymoon at Gunflint Lodge. So beautiful place. Anyways, like I was saying, I for carburetor bolts on a lot of tractors, I bought a combination reach around or half moon wrench set. Make sure if you get them, you get them with one end open and one end boxed end or closed. That's what combination means. Um, but they are a lifesaver for putting carburetors on. And I've used them in other applications too, but especially for carburetors, they're shaped kind of like, well, I can't really do it with my fingers, but kind of like that. Okay, kind of like a C almost. Hence the half moon, right? There's a guy in Black Duck, Minnesota that has a Super HTA for sale and wants 15,000. Yeah, there's been in one at Now Then that I don't know if it's been for sale, but guys are asking exorbitant amounts of money for them, and realistically, it's just a 350 with Super H tin work on it is all it is. There's a few other differences, but nah, I ain't gonna pay that much for it. You can build one for a lot less than that. But you pay for the convenience factor. You pay for one that's done. So Jeff wants to know who's looking forward to tractor shows this year. I think all of us, man. This this winter, and I think Rick and then all my other Minnesota buddies here, we can all attest to that. This has been a pretty long stretch of below zero. We haven't had a whole lot of great breaks in it. We've had like 1 or 2 days here and there where it's popped up to 20 or 30 degrees, but then right back down again. Yeah, we were almost to the end of the Gunflint. Not all the way, but almost. The other side of Gunflint Lake is Canada, so Paul, I'm telling you, those wrenches are a lifesaver. Here, I'll put this link in the chat here. They're cheap. I think they're like $18. Did a lot of digging and hauling to Gunflint Lodge. Yeah. You know, I was kind of disappointed though. I didn't get to see a moose. I've never seen a moose. I've lived in Minnesota my whole life, never seen a moose. Ben is headed off to bed. Thanks for stopping by, Ben. Keep us in up to date on that 1020. Let us know what happens. I guess you kind of have to because we're the ones that are going to go get it. Let's see here. It does seem like it's been colder than normal. I don't know if it's been colder than normal. It seems like it's been a long stretch of below zero. I mean, Halloween was pretty cold. It wasn't snowing. It usually snows on Halloween or before Halloween, but it was cold. I mean, I remember I took the whole neighborhood on the tractor treat, I called it. We hooked up the trailer with a bunch of hay bales from Connors and took the whole neighborhood. All the kids went trick or treating behind the Case SC, and it was a great time, but it was cold. It was like it was below 30. I know that. That's why we say, "Welcome to the land of snow, ice, and cold." Yeah, where we have two seasons, winter and road construction. Pete says there's 6 guys watching your show right now at work. Told them to like. If not, that steel won't fly. That's right. Like, share, comment, subscribe. I don't care if you comment. You don't have to comment, but at least subscribe and like and you know it don't cost you nothing to subscribe. It's the way I look at it. And you don't have to watch, but if you do, it helps. Look up corn harvest on Neldell Farms, 1978. There's a 686, and it's either a 786 or 886, both with 234 pickers picking sweet corn. Huh. Let's get on the old YouTube on another tab, search for it, and I'll watch it later. Corn harvest on Neldell Farms.
Have you thought about your tax?
All right, I'll watch it later, but I pulled it up. Yeah, I got some flakes coming down here, Lee. Brad says if y'all have any questions about the 1020, he can help. He's got one that went through stem to stern a couple years back. Good to know. Good to know. Ben's he's got his own channel, so he'll be putting up videos of it, but if he ends up making the purchase, most likely we'll be getting it for him because it's 2 hours from here in Minnesota, and he lives in Nebraska. So we'll just pick it up for him, keep it out here, and then when he's got time, he can come up and get it. So because it can't stay here. DNR killed them all. Come up in the fall, you'll see a moose. Well, we came up in May. We got married on May 18th, and I was, we'd go into the lodge bar, and there'd be people telling us, "Oh, we just saw a moose a half hour ago. We were up to Gunflint." So we went up. We heard you drive up to Gunflint right around sunset, and that's when you see them, in the bogs and everything. And I didn't see a single one. I'm told the old logging roads are good areas too to see moose up there. But anyone familiar with Oliver 770s? Dalen's got 3 of them. You should talk to Crazy Dave is who you should talk to. He's a big Oliver guy. Dalen. Yeah, Brian, I wish we had more snow too. We're way behind in snowfall this year. We're about half of what we normally are right now. And 2014, 2015, we were over twice what we normally get. We had a ton of snow those winters, but the ratio of people watching to thumbs up is too low. Give Kenny a thumbs up. Hey, I appreciate you. Just like Rick says, I appreciate you. Tractor treat is fun. I took my WD-45 out. Now the WD-45 is, let me think here. That's the later model of the WD, right? Kevin's in the house, giving us thumbs up. Nick Steam Toys and More, he says he's got a 770. Logan, be careful what you say. We don't have hurricanes, we don't have earthquakes, we don't have alligators. My friend from high school, 2 years ago, I think, or it might have been last year. No, it had to be 2 years ago. At the property at the end of my road was deer hunting, shot a deer and an alligator in the same event. Swear to God, you can look it up on the internet. You'll see it all over the news. If the club picks up the 1020 for Ben, will it be videoed? Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's on rear steel. The fronts are not on steel, but they're junk. I've been in the mountains of Virginia and never saw any elk. Well, we have elk in Minnesota. I used to work with a guy that has an elk farm, and we have elk in Minnesota. Plus, I went to South Dakota, Colorado, Wyoming. I've seen plenty of elk. Kenny, if you ever go to Alaska, that's all you'll see is moose. I want to go to Alaska bad. It's a bucket list vacation for me, so. Yep, Logan, I got it pulled up. I got the video pulled up. Yeah. I know it's an Alice WD-45. The WD-45 diesel is pretty hard to find, from what I understand. Hurricanes. Oh yeah, check the wild score. Just goes to show you how much I pay attention to sports. I don't have time most of the time, How did he shoot an alligator in Minnesota? I'll tell you. Somebody brought it home from down south, kept it as a pet, and then couldn't manage it anymore and let it go. That's how it happened. Happens all the time, actually. Just seeing my dog. She's good. She's tired. Probably bummed out because we haven't been outside much in the last 6 months. She's kind of a wuss. She doesn't like the cold either. I don't mind the cold. I don't like turning wrenches in it. It's not fun. Well, you got to be careful with hurricanes too because we do get the gales up on Lake Superior. So, and you should check out some of the videos from the North Shore damage the last few years. You would be impressed with how angry Lake Superior can get. I mean, all you got to say is Edmund Fitzgerald, and that's enough right there. But I'd actually like to surf Lake Superior. I'm a snowboarder, and I've always wanted to try surfing, and people surf Lake Superior, and I'd like to try it. Oh yeah, I forgot about that last live stream I had. She was puking on the floor, actually right over here. Actually, she's fine. She sometimes, I don't know if she swallows something, but she'll do that. She'll puke once in a while. Most dogs do. They get into something, and with all the woods we got back here, she loves to run back there, and she might find, who knows what she finds in there and chew on it. Hey John, thanks. I'm sure it has a lot to do with everybody's prayers that they put up for us. So, but yeah, my daughter, she had a fever for Monday through Thursday, so 4 days she had a fever. And when I had COVID that first time, man, was I sick. I was so sick. My taste and smell didn't come back for almost 2 months. And when it did come back at first, anytime I had meat, it just tasted like dead meat. Didn't matter what I put on it, it just tasted dead. And then condiments tasted really chemically, like they had a really strong chemical taste. It wasn't like normal ketchup or barbecue sauce. It just, oh golly, it wasn't fun. But made it through twice, probably three times actually. Hyatt's taken off. Hyatt, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. I know it's kind of late to have the live stream, but when I'm putting the kid to bed, that is what it is. So take care, bud, and we're gonna get together soon. I hope. Yeah, the WF Alice is somewhat rare too. I've seen a few of them, but you don't see many of them. H Turbo's in the house. He says his neighbor has a WD-45 diesel. They are pretty rare, from what I understand. I'm not a big Alice guy either. I don't like the seating position and in how the geometry of my body or the ergonomic seating position or lack of ergonomics is. Plus, I don't understand the hand clutch, foot clutch thing. It has something to do with the implements that were available for it at the time. I just convenient, but I always get nervous, you know, leaving it in gear with the hand clutch and whatever. I don't trust it. You should never trust anything like that, but old Gitchigumi has no mercy. People that never came back. That's right. Logan says he was more sick when he didn't have COVID than when he did. Yeah, some people don't get sick at all from it. I hardly ever get sick. Once every couple of years, and I got sick the year before COVID came out. I got sick the first year of COVID. One time each year. Didn't get sick all the way from that second time or the first time I had official time I had COVID, all the way till it's been almost 15 months since I've been sick. So I guess I'm due. Edmund Fitzgerald sank November 10th, 1975. The tug captain that pulled her out of the Superior dock died last November. He was a good friend of mine. Sorry to hear that. But I do know I'm quite fascinated by the Edmund Fitzgerald and its story, and I've actually got it tattooed on my arm. I don't know if you guys can see that. Edmund Fitzgerald, and then up top, Split Rock Lighthouse. So I'm a big follower of the Edmund Fitzgerald. I really am intrigued by the story and the differences in opinions, and it's quite, and it's tragic. It sucks. It's like the Titanic of the Great Lakes. It sucks that happened. Yep, there's a WD south of Isani on 65 for sure, Paul. See it all the time. It's in front of an old farmhouse type thing. Paul, does my uncle still have that age for you at his rental property? I can help you pick it up this spring. I've talked to Jerry a little bit, not lately about that tractor, but I'm still interested in bringing it home. If anything, it'd be something we could part it out. It's in rough shape. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's rough. I don't know if it's something we can save or if anybody can afford to save it, but I'd like to get it out of there and do something with it. I haven't heard much. I didn't know if he had sold the property or if he was renting it or what the deal was with it, but I haven't heard anything on it. But if you want to ask him about it, feel free. I've just been talking to Jerry about his recent addition to his genetic pool. So I'm happy for him though. He'll be a great dad. He's a good dude. Gathering of the Orange in Baraboo, Wisconsin, August 19th, 20th, and 21st. Unfortunately, I want to go to Baraboo. I've always wanted to go, but it's the same weekend as Now Then. Now Then's kind of my home show. It's only like 13 miles from me, and I never miss Now Then because that's as far as our tractor club, the Relics, that's our show. Like that's where we all can make it to once a year and at least see all of each other. I shouldn't say it's our show. It's just the show that we kind of were founded at. You know what I mean? So we all try to make it to Now Then every year. It's kind of our big hoorah. But I wouldn't mind taking like a Friday or a Sunday and going to Baraboo just for the day. But it's kind of a long drive just for one day. I love the Edmund Fitzgerald. I can listen to Gordon Lightfoot on repeat. Oh yeah, absolutely. Great song. Orange Spectacular is a great show. I'm not a huge Alice guy, but I can appreciate Alice, and there are some I like. I think Alice Chalmers UCs are really neat. They're kind of like the F20 era Alice. I think they're really neat. Yeah, the Great Lakes, man. This whole arm. This is kind of my shipwreck arm, and then this one is tractors and stuff, and the lower half I want to get some stuff dedicated to my parents, their favorite cars, and kind of like a Route 66 theme on the bottom half. But that's just another thing that takes money. So tattoos are addicting, kids. Don't get them. Brent says we have a free engine H with a bad tranny. Well, this one, I think the shifter barely moves in it. So it's probably got a lot of water down in it. I'm not sure what the transmission looks like in this one. It's been sitting in that spot for a long time. I mean, it's sunk clear up to the top of the rear rims, the middle of the front hubs. It's been sitting there a long time. And it's got a tree that's probably 15 to 18 inches in diameter growing through the hitch. So Brad says he took 7 tractors to Now Then last year. Yeah, Logan, you're right. 2020 is the only year I missed Now Then. But I did go to Andover, South Dakota, and hang out with Corey and his family because they still did a sawmill weekend instead of the show. And I actually got to sleep in Corey Anderson's shop with about 20 other people. So that was awesome. I was planning on sleeping in my car, and Corey and his family, out of the kindness of their heart, said, "No way, you're staying with us. You get in there. Dinner's on the table." Corey Anderson and his family are awesome people, you guys. If you ever get the chance to go out to Andover, South Dakota, the weekend after Labor Day, see the 150 and hang out with Corey and his family and all the great people at their show, it is worth it. It's a small show. I'm not going to say it's a huge show. It's a small show. But the stuff that they have is super unique. Plus, there's the 150, and they have probably one of the best displays of steam plowing I've ever seen. So, just saying, you guys need to make the time to go out to Andover, South Dakota to see the 150 because that's your best shot at seeing it. It doesn't travel a lot because it's very expensive to haul that tractor. Very expensive. Okay, catching up on comments now. Tommy, his name was George Latour. He was a G-Tug captain. I worked dredging for 15 years, and he and Kenny had great stories about the Queen ships. Brian says, ride with me to Hutchinson for the Gathering of the Orange. I go every year. Every year I take that Friday off. I need somebody to ride with me this year. If I can go, I'll go. It all depends on if I have the weekend off. What weekend is it? I can't. If you know what weekend it is, I can check, and I don't know. You can send me an email or whatever, and I'll check and see if I got the days off. But I can't promise anything. Brent says, the night the Edmund Fitz sank, I was in Duluth. That was a storm I will never forget. Yeah, I know. They said they had 90-mile-an-hour gusts at Whitefish Point, and that they know for sure, the captain of the Arthur Anderson knows for sure that he had 30 to 35-foot waves roll up his deck. So that is a big, big storm. Yeah, you're right, H Turbo. All tractors can be saved. It takes time and deep pockets, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm a firm believer, and if it casts a shadow, it can be restored, but I don't have that time right now. That's the problem, and I can't, given the things that are going on around me right now, I can't be having a bunch of stuff sitting out waiting for projects. And as much as I want to, because I want to see this channel grow, not for the money side of it, but because it's such an awesome community. Like, I love doing this. I love making videos, posting them, interacting with you guys. And I want to do more of that. I just, right now, I can't. It's not something I can get into on social media, but right now I can't do more than what I'm doing. So I'm doing everything I can. Plus, working 2 jobs is a lot, and having a almost 3-year-old, I do a lot of chasing. Tim, what's going on? Family's doing good, bud. Thanks for asking. Martin, Geechee Gumee is the Native American word for Lake Superior. Old tractors are a boat. Bust out another 1,000. Yeah, obviously you've never ridden Harley Davidsons. I've had 3 of them, so yeah. Do you think tractors are expensive? Try building a Harley or try building a 57 Chevy. You talk about expensive. That's why we don't do cars, because they're so expensive. Nah, that's not the only reason. I mean, but I like tractors. I mean, I'd love to have a 55 Buick Special. That was my grandpa's one of his first new cars, I think. And yeah. Hey, everybody from the Engine Club says hi. Hey guys, sorry I can't be there. COVID, you know. Rudy's in the house. I don't know if you're live right now at the club or if you're home already, but I wish I could have been at the beach party. Man, if I could go to the beach party and bring my camera, you guys wouldn't believe some of the tractors in them buildings. Pretty much all the same tractors you see it now then. I mean, the big Minneapolis 3570, all kinds of Hart Par Rumleys, you know, all beautiful tractors. Hey, Alex, thanks for stopping by. I'm just catching up now. Am I planning on getting a truck to fix up and haul my tractors to shows? I want to get a truck that I don't have to fix, that I can use to haul my tractors to shows. Um, yeah, I want a truck and a trailer of my own, but right now, just like more tractors, it's not in the cards. Crazy days in the house. What's going on, buddy? How you doing? Plus, I got a lot of good friends. You know, both in the tractor club. Domino, he's an awesome friend, and they help me out when I need it. So I'm fortunate enough to have that. Dalen's rebuilding an M distributor while he's listening. Need to build new wires from the coil to the resistor or to keep it short the entire distributor. What wire gauge would you all suggest to use? Oh, wires for coil to the resistor. I would use probably 16 to 14 gauge wire for that. That's just what I'd say. Rudy's in here. Maybe he can chime in. What size wires should we use for going from the coil terminals to the distributor junction block and stuff? We're kind of rebuilding an international one for fun right now, but we picked a distributor that pretty much needs everything, including the casing. So there's a ship in Superior, Wisconsin at a Fraser shipyard. Can't think of the name that also helped look for the Fitzgerald, not the Anderson. Yeah, I can't remember. There's a couple documentaries on YouTube here about the Fitzgerald, and I can't remember the other boat's name that went out and looked, but the captains were not going to go out there and look, but they figured, well, somebody's got to go, so they went. Never found nothing except a little bit of debris and an oil slick. Haul a farm all behind a sedan, be a man. Hey, I've hauled a lot of stuff behind vehicles that shouldn't be hauling it, so I'm not afraid to, but I am afraid of the repercussions, and I'm most afraid of hurting somebody because it's unsafe. Can you do it? Yeah, you can do it. Doesn't mean you should. Yeah, 14 gauge is what I would go with. William Clay Ford. Yeah, I think that's the name of the ship. You're right. Arthur Anderson and the William Clay Ford. Talking about old iron, is anyone watching Kyle Chris RD4 vids? Man, he's got his hands full. Yeah, he does. Yeah. If you haven't heard about it, Squatch has mentioned his name several times, and he's come to the plow days and everything. Guys, if you haven't gone over to Kyle's channel, check it out. He does some good stuff. He's got some awesome equipment. So, Kyle Christ, go check his channel out. Tim, thanks for stopping by, man. Appreciate it. Tom A. The Anderson is the one that was behind the Fitzgerald. Yes. I think it was about, I want to say it was 5 to 10 miles behind the Fitzgerald. Tom A. says, I remember seeing a video of one within the last year. Wonder if it was yours. Yeah, I know. Kyle's channel's exploded since Squatch mentioned him. And I don't blame it because it's a good channel. You know, he has every right to be excelling, you know. Mine's kind of flatlanded. I don't even know where I'm at. I think, but a lot of that has to do with, you know, I haven't been able to put out consistent wrenching videos, and that's what keeps people interested and kind of puts you to the front of the line, I think, as far as algorithms go. Let me see here. I have 5,700 subscribers. And my channel has amassed 1.4 million views total. So I'm nowhere near viral, but I appreciate you guys at least sticking around and having fun with me. So it's a good stress relief for me doing this stuff. Have they found the wreckage of the Edmund Fitzgerald? Yes, they have, but it is it's a protected site because it's considered a graveyard because they never recovered any of the bodies from the Edmund Fitzgerald. There are more, correct me if I'm wrong, but there are more shipwrecks in Lake Superior. It's either in Lake Superior or in the Great Lakes than there are in the North Atlantic. And Lake Superior can hold all the other Great Lakes combined, plus like 3 more Lake Eries. $5,000 subscribers in 24 hours. Jeez. It took me, it took me 15 years to get 5,000 subscribers. I've been on YouTube since 2007. So tell all your friends, would you? Posted a video last night on the Facebook group page of my Case SC. I'm new to video editing and still learning it. Which group page? The Rusty Nuts Ranch group page, the 1941 Case SC group page, the Case Tractors group page. There's a lot of Facebook pages. Pete says, I worked on a tug and the captain said we are over the Fitzgerald. Dang, that'd be a crazy experience. Solemn experience. Just to be, it'd be like, I'm a huge Titanic nut too. I really love the story of the Titanic and the interesting things that came out during the investigation afterwards and the things that were not allowed to be said. It's very controversial. The Edmund isn't so much controversial as it just was they don't have a real definition of what exactly happened. But the Titanic, on the other hand, there's a lot of controversy that surrounds that one. Farmall Lover says he remembers when I lived in the apartment and I first got the H and the F20. Well, I actually it was a townhouse, but yeah, in a one-stall garage. Let me tell you guys, in a one-stall garage, in a townhome, I built the Case SC, the Farmall H. Well, kind of. We got it. and got it running there. The F20, which was kept at Domino's, the Farmall M, which was kept at Domino's, the John Deere A, I did with the Case SC in the garage at the same time. I built 2 Harley Sportsters. I built a Honda Shadow Spirit 750, a 2004 Harley Night Train, and a 2012 Harley Softail Deluxe, all in that one stall garage. Kent says, you won't ever get me on that lake. I'll tell you, Kent, it's a beautiful lake. If you get on it when it's not angry, it's a beautiful lake. It's worth it. Let's see, over 5,000 documented wrecks in the Great Lakes, and they keep finding more. What's interesting about the Great Lakes is they don't, and just this country, this region in general, is nobody really knows who was here first. Some people, obviously, we know it wasn't Christopher Columbus. He wasn't to America first. We know that. It was the Vikings before Columbus, well before Columbus, over a century. But we don't know who may have been here before the Vikings. You ever watch America Unearthed? It's on the History Channel part of YouTube. Very, very good show. The guy, he's from Minnesota, the host of that show, but he uncovers so many cool things. It's on the 41 KSSC group page. Sorry, I'm thinking and reading at the same time. Check that channel out too, though. America Unearthed. Okay, I'm gonna have to go over there and watch that video. Anything I can see of a Case SC, I will watch because there's just nothing out there. I mean, most of the videos on YouTube that are good videos of a Case SC are the ones that I put out there. In my opinion. That's why I can't wait to do a full teardown on my grandpa's SC, even though we've already painted it. There's some things that need attention. It's going to be the only series on YouTube of a full SC front to rear teardown. How many tractors do I have? I had 7, but I'm down to 3 now. In total, I've had probably a dozen-ish tractors. Yeah, Kent, the Fitzgerald went down quickly. Brian says, once flew over the Titanic site. The captain announced it. We all looked out the window. Man, those people died in the middle of nowhere. I know. Terrible. Terrible. And if you look into the story, I'm beginning to think it was not for good reason. I mean, it's never for good reason, but there was a lot of business decisions that were made, I think, that costed people their lives. And it's terrible. The America that sunk at Isle Royale brought my grandparents from Duluth to Grand Marais. Gosh, that'd be cool. If I have 2 narrow fronts, I can make them fit in a single car. I could have made 3 tractors fit in that garage if I really wanted to, but I wouldn't have been able to walk through there. Tractor Hyatt, that show is really something. I love that show. I watch it all the time on YouTube. Lake Superior is beautiful. The only lake that the ships take the water in and use it. Absolutely. We stayed in Lutzen Resort, which is on the North Shore, one time, and they have all kinds of activities that are included in the resort. I did a sunrise kayak tour on Lake Superior, and it's the only time I've ever been in a kayak on Lake Superior. But we were out on the water, watching the sun come up. And it's really kind of a serene and out of body experience, I guess, because it's so, or I guess spiritual would be the right word. It's such, I mean, it's like you're at one with God. It's incredible. But the view from sitting on the water in a kayak, looking up at the cliffs is incredible. You understand how dangerous it can be. Plus, the water is incredibly clear. I mean, we were in 45 feet of water and we could see the rocks on the bottom like they were 5 feet underneath us. Do Hyatt wants to know? Oh yeah, Curse of Oak Island has proved that people sailed in North America thousands of years ago. Oh yeah, absolutely. Hyatt wants to know what ever happened to the SC I did a walk around video on a couple years ago. I have no idea. The guy, I thought about buying it, but the guy just would not budge on price, and it wasn't worth what he was asking. Not at all. The motor was locked up. It was, you know, it just wasn't worth the price. And sometimes you just got to know when to walk away, you know. Farm All Lover says his uncle has a 300 case wide front he wants to scrap. It was sitting in the mountain for about 30 years. Hey, if it casts a shadow, it can be restored. The Fitz was stretched from 800 feet to 1,000 feet, and I believe it broke near the joint. Not sure. Not sure on that part, but I do know that the controversy or the mystery that surrounds it is one theory says they took on water through loose hatch cover clamps. Another theory says they broke on the surface, and between two rogue waves, they broke in half. A third theory says that they were taken on water because they had struck a shoal that was incorrectly mapped at the time, and they were taken on water. And then when the wave rolled up the back, the stern, it pushed the bow underwater and it just drove itself right to the bottom, and that's where it, twisted apart. And there's all kinds of theories, and I personally think that it struck bottom on a shoal, and then that's what that rogue wave came up because the Anderson had the same waves, and there's an interview of the captain from the Anderson on YouTube saying if them waves caught up with the Fitzgerald and the Fitzgerald was taken on water, it would have rolled the deck up and pushed it right down into the bottom, and it would have been that fast. There was nothing they would have been able to do, and that's what I think happened because they never put out a distress call or nothing. Martin's going to bed. All right, Martin, thanks. Appreciate you being here. Oh yeah, Brent, I know. We go to the North Shore all the time, and I just it's usually for a romantic type of thing. So I try not to when we're in that type of a setting. I try not to bother my wife with tractors too much because it's it's just about us. So I can be romantic. Tom says he saw a good documentary recently released on YouTube of the Fitzgerald. Well, I'll have to search that out. Paul, let's see. Mr. Stubb, I must disagree. The Fitz was launched at 729 and was never lengthened. The Anderson was lengthened to 767. Oh, I never answered that question, I don't think. I had 7 tractors, but I've only got 3 right now. I got the Farm All M, we got the Suicide Awareness H, and then we got my grandpa's Case SC. So I just got 3 right now. But then we've got the 3 engines too, the John Deere E engine, and then we've got 2 International LB engines. and we're working on the E engine right now. Yeah, Logan, like I said, there's three major theories out there, or three primary theories as to why it sank, but I personally believe it struck bottom on the shoal that was incorrectly mapped, or it had a stress fracture, from the big waves, and I think maybe that's how it was taken on water. I definitely don't think it was loose hatch covers. Yeah, Kent, you're right. Plus, it had been overloaded many, 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 many times, which causes extreme metal fatigue, especially when you're bending between waves. And metal does what's called a plasticking when it's subject to stresses like that, back and forth, back and forth. It becomes a sense of, it doesn't change material, but it's called plasticking because it becomes brittle and weak and it'll just snap. So I don't think it broke apart on the surface, but that's just me. Oh, there's been dives down to the Fitzgerald before, and you can see the footage um, on YouTube, but it's very limited as to what you see. Look forward to the SC rebuild. Love to see an old tractor fixed correctly. We'll try. I know the rear end needs to be gone through, but the engine runs great, but the engine block has some old repairs in it that I don't know if we're going to be able to fix. Um, it's I want to fix them. I'll have to bring it. If you guys watch the X253 stuff from Squatch's channel with the experimental Minneapolis Moline tractor he's in the middle of restoring, he brought his stuff down to a place in Iowa to have some castings fixed, and I just really don't know if we can afford to do that with this. I don't know what it's going to cost for the repairs that need to be done to the engine block, and I want to do it because it's matching numbers, so the serial numbers match, but I don't know if it's going to be cost effective. If not, I'm going to try and find another 1941 engine block and replace it with that. But the engine's already got new sleeves in it. I've already got new old stock rod bearings. I need to get main bearings for it, but the only way to get them is to have them relined. So, but the primary focus is going to be the transmission and then figuring out what we're going to do with the engine block. Everything else is pretty much still fine. It's just um, the I'll probably go through the governor, probably bring the magneto to Rudy's, and we'll probably go through it and spruce it up. It works fine, but spruce it up, tune it up, and then Rudy actually has the original magneto, the original Edison magneto that came on that tractor off the assembly line. So I'd kind of like to get that rebuilt and put on there just to have the original, but I'll keep the case mag as a backup because it's just you never know. Those Edison mags that were put on those weren't the most reliable, so the case mag is a much better magneto. You can still be a romantic and still let a person know you're in the neighborhood. Well, we haven't been up to the North Shore in 2 years at least, so because we've been going to Colorado and we went to Michigan last fall. So, but yeah, Rudy, he goes up to the North Shore fairly often, and he's picking up or dropping off magnetos when he goes up. So, yeah, I think they struck Caribou Shoal as well with the Fitzgerald. I don't know if Michigan. You might be right, Hyatt. If that Michigan has more lighthouses than any other state, I know Minnesota, we don't have that many. Split Rock is like probably one of the most famous lighthouses in the country, but we have that, but we don't have that many. Fitzgerald and the Titanic on their launching killed someone, wife's tale. Then the ship will sink. Yeah. The Titanic, somebody was, well, more than one person was killed on the Titanic as far as during construction, and then when launching, somebody was killed when they knocked out one of the timbers that were bridging it up, and it exploded and just, killed them. But the Fitzgerald, somebody had a heart attack and died during the launch. Yeah, they definitely increased the capacity of it and all kinds of things that led to its demise, I think. But I definitely think it struck bottom, and that's what led it to taking on water. And then I think the waves that the Anderson had caught up with the Fitzgerald, and that's what pushed her into the bottom. That's what I think. But Rudy, Brent says if you go way up the shore, let him know. He's in Grand Marais, so, and I think he's got quite a collection up there. Yeah, Hyatt, I hope I can keep matching numbers, but we'll see. The only way to know would be to have somebody look at it and give an estimate on repair, and then we have to have it machined because, I'll show you when we get it apart why it would need to be machined, and it's just, I hope we can do it. But Brian's taking off. He's got some K5s to do. Spring is on the way, and time to get carbs on eBay and make some lunch money. So, Brian, good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Michigan has more shoreline than any state except Alaska. I don't know about that. You might want to double check that one. Minnesota has way more shoreline than I think most of the country. But that's because of all the lakes we have. We have a lot of lakes, so they consider that shoreline in part of, you know what I mean? Reminds of the time I took the Oliver 55 diesel and finished mower to my grandma's house in town to mow her grass. The neighbors were pissed. Yeah, well, it is what it is. What model Edison mag for my SC? Our family had a Bosch. Oh man, let me think. I want to say it's an RV. Let me see here. Rudy would know. Rudy, what kind of mag is that was on my SC? The Edison. I want to say it's an RV. I can't remember. Or a W. Maybe that's just a serial number I'm thinking of. It was like W something. It's on the build card. Let me pull up my pictures here. Yes, I have the build card for the tractor. Just got to find it. Hunting and stuff is in the house. Oh, that's not it. Okay, let me see here. Oh, that's the serial number. W19064 was the serial number of the mag that was on the tractor. I know it's an Edison. RM. That's what it is. Rudy's got it. But the Fitzgerald broke back. Her hand railing was gone. They lost their railing long before they sank. Um, if you listen to the radio calls back and forth between the Arthur and the Fitzgerald, you can hear the captain from the Fitzgerald saying he's lost his rail, and you know, very interesting to listen to. Logan's going to bed. See you later. I want to save that 300, but I really wouldn't know where to start, especially with the engine work. Hey, just got to take it apart and figure out what's going on with it. Who knows? It might just, I mean, I don't know if it's been sitting uncovered or if the engine is stuck or what, but I have a good case contact, so I'm sure you know who he is, Don Livingston down at Rusty Acre in southern Minnesota. I mean, anything case and he'll find it. If he don't have it, he'll find it. Don is about the best case guy in the country, probably. John says, I'm sure your subscribers would at least make a small donation toward a sentimental tractor rebuild video series like the SC. Yeah, that's something I've considered. I try not to do that. I don't really ask people for money. It's not my thing. The Farm All H was one thing, and then I did the fundraiser for Domino when he got injured, but I'm not. The Farm All H was just that was a way for everybody to get involved in a project that we were trying to spread awareness with. That was, and if I end up having to get rid of that, it's going to go up for raffle or auction, and all the proceeds are going to be donated. Even the money that I put into it is going to be donated, and that's just the right thing to do. I hope that never happens, but But yeah, I've given it some thought on the Case SC, and we'll see what happens when we get to that project. Rudy Pete 359 says, Rudy, this is Ryan from Duluth. You bought a bunch of mags for me a few years ago. I still got some more. Tom, the link I posted is for the documentary on the Fitz, just over half hour. Worth the watch. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. I'll open that in another tab, and I'll watch that later. Is the Case 300 a sort of updated VAC? I'm not sure, but I know it's a smaller tractor. Bob, thanks for stopping by. Keep me updated on that Super Ray. Can't wait to see it completed. Billy says, start by saving, figure it out later. I'm not sure where you're going. Are you talking about the Case SC project? Thanks, Tom. I'll check it out. The engine is seized, so is the rear. I don't know. I know of Don, but I'm in PA. Yeah. Well, you can always ship Fastenal if you need big parts. Fastenal is pretty cheap. As long as you can get it on a pallet, it's pretty cheap. Tom says, start with saving it. The mechanicals can be handled over time. Oh, I see, Billy. I see what you're saying. Start by saving the Case 300. I got you. Rudy's going to bed. Hope your shoulder's doing better. Week by week, guys, his shoulder gets a little bit better, so he's trying to trying to get as caught up as he can on the magnetos. I'm trying to help him. He's got another guy trying to help him, and they don't stop coming in. So Fastenal wouldn't ship your torque tube from Ohio? That doesn't make any sense. Huh. I wonder why they wouldn't do that. I've heard of them shipping engine blocks and all kinds of stuff. And the torque tube for a Cub is not that big. It's probably what, maybe 3 feet long? Probably not even that. Farm all lover. The rear end probably isn't seized. It's probably the engine and clutch. The brakes will make the transmission seem like it's seized. Oh, that's a good point. Just saying, $10 towards a good build is better than a lot of other channels that are $5 a month. Don't really care for the membership charge. Yeah, I thought about doing something like that, but right now it's not fair for you guys because I feel like in order to do a membership, I would need to put out minimum one video a week for the members channel and then another video at minimum every other week for the regular channel. So I don't have the time to be wrenching that much right now. So, and doing this stuff, this isn't like members type stuff. You know what I mean? So I can't, I'm not going to do anything like that right now. If you guys want to watch and support me that way, that's great. I'm not charging anybody for anything. Thought about making t-shirts and selling t-shirts, but the initial investment is pretty expensive. So yeah, it's going to be what it is for now. Just me on this channel. So, but yeah, I'll definitely, I've considered it for a while, doing that Case SC. That's the tractor that'll never leave my hands ever. So it's quite valuable to me. Hyatt wants to know what's the furthest you and or my club members have traveled to save a tractor. Well, I went to Alabama to pick up a tractor for Mr. Stubb, actually. Picked up a Farmall Cub for him down in Alabama, and that video is on the channel. So that's the furthest I've gone. It was just outside of Muscle Shoals, Alabama. And I drove straight down, slept in the back of the pickup, and loaded up that morning and drove straight home. So it was a long drive. Nice drive, but I could tell you I don't want to go into not Kansas City. What's the other one? What's the other one on the east side of Missouri? The heck is it? Why am I drawing a blank? Whatever big city it is on the east side of Missouri. Didn't care for it. Not Jefferson City. St. Louis. Didn't care for it. I just didn't like the roads and the traffic and all that. I don't like a ton of traffic. I think Rudy checked out for the night, but Brad says he's driven from Washington State to Nebraska to save one, went from Minnesota to Montana to save another. Domino and I went to Iowa to bring back a Super C, the one that he's working on. He's got it as far tore down as I had the H tore down. But he decided he's not gonna do a channel right now. He's not up to it right now. So yeah, Brent, that Case SC is my grandpa's tractor. So there's actually a video I think it's called A History of the 1941 Case SC. That kind of goes through a photo slideshow and the story of the SC in my family. So it's been in the family since the early 70s. My grandpa saved it from a salvage yard in Northwest Minnesota. I was told it was a salvage yard in North Dakota, but I'm almost betting it was Beavers or Bewers, however you want to say it, but they pronounce it Beavers. So, yeah, kind of a special tractor for me. Nick says, never gone far for a tractor, jumped in the car at noon and drove Minnesota to Oklahoma for a steam engine and made it back by 10 a.m. the next morning. That's pretty good. Going around St. Louis can be dangerous if you aren't paying attention. Yeah. Going around Minneapolis is dangerous if you are paying attention. That place it's a war zone down there. Hyatt says we got to figure out how to get your grandpa's M. Man, I wish I knew. I have the serial number memorized. Every show I go to, I look at serial numbers on Farm All M's. People think I'm probably crazy, but you know, I know the guy that has it or that my uncle says has it. So I can't, I don't want to I don't want to disrespect my uncle by going against what he told me not to do, and that's bother the guy. So, but yeah, it would be great to get it. I would get rid of my M in a heartbeat just to get my grandpa's. Easy. I'd trade him straight up, and mine's got a brand new engine in it. But Brent says he'd love to find his dad's first tractor when he went from horses, which was an Alice B. Broken Wrench is in the house. Good to see a Broken Wrench. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And you are a man that has helped me a lot in wrenching because you used to be a former international mechanic. So thank you for all the help you've given not only me in the comment sections, but a lot of other people that have seen the comments. So in Marysville, know some of that area, traveled US 2 to Leavenworth back many times, and several trips to Michigan and back. I didn't actually see the tractor, but I've tried. I met the gentleman, but I didn't know at the time I met him. I didn't know he was the one that owned it. My uncle hadn't told me until after that hey, remember that guy at the place? That was the guy that's got Grandpa's tractor. So then I was able to get the phone number after talking with my uncle a little bit more and got the phone number of the guy. I tried calling him, I don't know, once a month for a few months and never could get a hold of him. Always left voicemails. And then, one of the last times I saw my uncle, I said, hey, I haven't been able to get a hold of him. Do you think you could talk to him for me? And he just kind of said, drop it. It's a dead issue. It's just a Farm All M. There's no sentimental value in it. And it just kind of trampled my spirits, because it's not just a Farm All M to me. It's my grandpa's tractor. My grandpa died when I was only 7, so I don't remember a ton of them, but it's still my grandpa's tractor. Pete, it's fine. No big deal, man. Sometimes you got to work. Broken Wrench said, Dad gave me a 51 restored H for my 11th birthday with plow, 8-foot disc, and cultivator. Now that's a heck of a gift for an 11-year-old. Holy buckets. Tim would love to have his dad's old MDTA. Yeah, I can imagine. That would be a honey tractor for sure. H Turbo says you might want to bother the guy before he sells it, then it would be lost forever. Yeah, I mean, I know, but what's more important, a relationship with my uncle or the tractor? I've already got an M. That's the way I look at it. Would I like to have that M? Yeah, but is it worth my uncle getting mad at me over it and possibly not talking to me or something? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm gonna give him another call. I just, you know how it is. Family stuff. Tom says he's still trying to find and get the 53 Super H that neighbor had that I grew up with. Yeah, it's fun trying to track them down, isn't it? I mean, if anything, I'd just like to see it and know that it still exists. My grandpa's M. I just want to see it and know it exists, and at least talk to the guy and be like, hey, if you ever get rid of it, or if something happens to you, can you just make sure this somehow comes my way? You know what I mean? At least try to. I don't know. Can you see the M from the road? My M or my grandpa's M? I don't even know exactly where my grandpa's M is. I just know the guy that has it. Or I have the phone number of the guy that has it, and I've met him once. I haven't seen the tractor since it's been at my uncle's house, and that was, gosh, I was probably 16, 17 years old. So I haven't seen the tractor in almost 20 years. But my uncle told me he gave it to this guy on the condition that he could never sell it and that he had to restore it. So the guy said he was going to restore it, and as of 2-3 years ago, it still is sitting in his field. So I don't know. I don't know if it's still sitting there. I don't know. I mean, my grandpa or my uncle says he hasn't done nothing with it. So I don't know. But he told the guy he could never get rid of it. And I said, well, what if he sold it to me? I think that would be all right. You know, yeah, Grandpa's M. I don't know its physical location. Haven't seen it in almost 20 years, so I'll try. I'm not gonna give up on it. I want to at least, like I said, I just want to see it, and you know. All right, Paul. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. Diesel truck mechanics in the house. He's picking up a tractor soon that'll be like that with my grandkids, a John Deere B with a track system. A John Deere B with a track system? Is it a half track system or is it literally on tracks? Like the B. Lindemann crawler, B.O. Lindemann crawler. I don't know, man. I can't speak for my uncle. I can only speak for me, and I love my uncle, but you'd think he'd be able to see how important it is to me, and at least just make a phone call. If I can't get a hold of the guy, or at least maybe he could drive over there and just have a talk with him and say, look, if you're not going to do this, would you consider this? Would you consider either giving it to my nephew or trading it to my nephew or selling it to my nephew or something, I don't even know the guy's real name. I just know what they call him. Pete, that'd be a good one to get. One that was bought new. You got the entire history with it, It's tough, though. It's got a track system that goes around the 38-inch tires. Must be a half-track system, then. If I ever need international parts, Brownworth Parts in Plato, Minnesota are good people. Good to know. Good to know. Jeff, do I think my uncle doesn't want me to have the I mean, I would hope not, but I don't know. Is it a possibility? I mean, everything's a possibility, but I would hope he doesn't feel that way. I don't feel that way about anything with him. I mean, I don't know. I don't mean anything harmful by it, by trying to get it. I just want to see it preserved. And as dumb as it might sound, I'd like to reunite it with the Case SC. Those two, they sat parked together at my grandpa's place for a long time, and I don't know. You look at these things like they're living things, but it's like they're kind of brothers. I've heard of those crawlers, diesel truck. I've heard of those little miniature, well, not miniature, but compact crawlers, I guess you could say. Jeff, my uncle gave the tractor away because he had bought he's got like a Case front end loader with a backhoe. It's like a 70s model, I would guess. And he just never used it, and he had to put a new rear end in it one time after my grandpa died because it froze, and they drove it and punched a hole through the bottom of the case. And I would guess that they probably ruined some of the inner axle bearings on that thing, is what I would guess. But so he put a new rear end in it, and he told me that the agreement was when my grandpa died, when they put the new rear end in it, because it was my uncle, my dad, and my two aunts. So they were going to split the cost of the repair 4 ways, and my uncle never got any of the money. So he had to pay it all for himself. So he kept the tractor at his place. And then, when he got that case, that Construction King case or whatever it is, he said, I don't need this M anymore. And he knew this friend was a guy that collected and restored farmalls. So he said, well, this tractor was given to me. I don't use it anymore. Or it was given to my grandpa, I should say. He said, this tractor was given to my dad, and I'd like to give it to you to restore. But the only condition is you can't sell it. You can't, you got to restore it. So the guy took the tractor, and that's the story, I guess. No, my grandpa wasn't the original owner. The story on that was the guy that had it lived down the road from my grandpa, and the tractor was sitting outside, and in a big windstorm, a tree got knocked over on the top, knocked the muffler off, and it sat for a while without the muffler on it. So rain got down inside the engine, locked up the engine, and it sat and sat and sat. And one day, the guy, my grandpa's friend or neighbor, came to him and said, "Hey, if I know you need a tractor to plow your driveway and everything. If you want this tractor, if you can get it out of here, you can have it." So my grandpa went over there with a chainsaw, cut the tree out from around it, and drug it home with the case. I believe with the case. It was either with that or his pickup. And, pulled the head off and got it running, and used it ever since till he died to plow snow. And that's kind of the backstory on the Farm All M. So it was something that was gifted to him by somebody. So there was a junk guy who had a HMC and a 340 with a loader, I believe, that he had sitting in his junk lot. Wish I would have looked into it. The Amish bought it and scrapped everything. Yeah, that happens. Can't save them all. The guy that has it now is leaving it sit outside in a field. You would restore it and give it some love. Why wouldn't your uncle want you to have it? Well, I don't know. I guess he might look at it as, well, I already gave it away. I can't go back to him and say, hey, I want that back so I can give it to my nephew. Maybe that's how he looks at it. I don't know. Going back on his word. And maybe he doesn't want the confrontation with the guy or whatever, but I would think the guy would understand, like, it's just an M. It's way more important to this man than it is to me. He's willing to give me an M with a new engine as a straight trade, and I know that this one's well wore out. I don't know. It just maybe that's how he looks at it. He just doesn't want the confrontation, or just doesn't want the headache. I don't know. I've been going through this 20 years. Don't stop. It's family. You got 3 generations going on that tractor. Keep on it. Well, 4 if you count my daughter, because you got my grandpa, my uncle, you got me, well, my dad too. He's been on that tractor, but me and my daughter. So you got 4 generations that could potentially be on that tractor, and then my daughter's kids maybe someday. I'll keep after it. I'll give him a call. I'll see. Let me see. I think his phone number is still in my phone. Should be. Yeah, I still got it. Still got it in my phone. Right here. Can't read the number, but you can see the name. It's in there as Oli, because that's what they call him, Oli. Typical Norwegian area. Brent, thanks for stopping by, bud. Appreciate it. I'll keep trying. I mean, I haven't called him in well over a year, so hopefully, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if the guy's still alive. I have no idea. Diesel truck mechanic. Does he have a Spoker John Deere D? Not that I can afford to buy one, but he said that the guy that started me in the hobby passed away recently, and I've been put in charge of selling the items, lots of John Deeres and a couple of farm walls. It's a very big ordeal. Yeah, sifting through big collections and putting price tags on stuff. is not easy, especially when it's somebody that you were close with. If there was a way I could buy it if the guy never did anything with it, I would say deal's off. It should be yours. Someone that will actually fix it. Yeah, but you can't just walk onto somebody's property and take a 7,000 pound tractor. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't work that way. I agree with you, John. I mean, I don't know how good of friends they are, so I can't, I don't. I only met the guy once, and I talked to him for probably 10 minutes, and that was it. And I even mentioned to him when I talked to the guy, when I met the guy, because my uncle, I forgot. My uncle did say when we met him, he said, "This is the guy that's got Grandpa's tractor." And I said, "If you ever get rid of it, call me first." And the guy said, "Your uncle said I could never get rid of it." And I told him, "I'm pretty sure if you gave it to me or if you sold it to me, my uncle would probably be okay with it." And that's the last I had ever heard of it. We were sitting at Melby Chicken or Melby Outpost in Melby, Minnesota. We were sitting on a picnic table out front by the gas pumps. I remember. Look at the moon, Paul says. I'll have to take a look. Hyatt says, almost that tractor way. We can round up a few guys and go get it under the cover of darkness. Well, it's heavy. It's got loaded rear tires, it's got a loader on it, and it's got wheel weights. So it's probably north of 7,000 pounds easily. I mean, it's set up just like mine, only um, mine doesn't have fluid in the tires. So Diesel Truck says, I know of one person in Washington State that has one sitting, but he wants a lot of it on this property. There is the rear end of an unstyled D there. Yeah, if I could find an original Spoker D, that would be that and my grandpa's Farm All M. But I would, like I said, I would get rid of my M in a heartbeat if I could get my uncle's. I mean, I wouldn't even if I got it on, well, I wouldn't get it on bad terms, but even if it was given to me, I would still sell my Farm All M to fund that project, because that tractor means way more to me than the one that I saved from the salvage yard. The one that I got because I kind of gave up on getting my grandpa's M. So what I did was I went to a salvage yard and got one that was stuck and way overpaid for it, but I didn't want to wait. So I got one that was stuck because I wanted to do it exactly the way my grandpa did it. He got one that was stuck, I got one that was stuck, and I started from there and went on. Pete says, get some Uncle Ben Franklin's in your pocket and go and see him and put him down. I don't even know where the guy lives. I don't know how I'm going to go see him. I mean, if he won't answer my calls or won't return my calls, I don't know how you can get around that. That's what sucks. I don't even know the guy's real name. I just know his name is Oli. That's what my uncle calls him. Yeah. I mean, I did talk to my uncle. We went and walked down to a lake, and I mentioned that. I said, hey, it really means a lot to me if you could at least either get him to call me or reach out to him or something. And that's where he kind of got irritated, and he was like, it's just, there's no sentimental value in it. It's just an old tractor. There's no sentimental value in it. Well, to me, there is. give him a call tomorrow or ask around the tractor community. Someone will know him or know who he is. Yeah, I mean, I've even talked to a couple people that live up in that area. Live in the same town as my uncle, who are heavy in the tractor community. One of them is on the board for Rolog, and still nothing. Haven't been able to dig up anything. I don't know if Rick's still with us. I replaced my M when I got my uncle's M when he passed away. Yeah, exactly. I would not keep my M. I would get rid of it. I would trade it to him. I would even trade it and then give this guy money on top of it, even though I know my grandpa's M is in far worse condition. Just to get my grandpa's M back, I would trade him mine, which is easily a $2,000 tractor, and I would give him money on top of it just to get that tractor back. But that's because I'm nuts. Actually, there's another Spoker D in Eastern Washington State, full patina with extensions. Apparently runs and he wants 17,000. Jeez. Yeah, I'll probably never get a Spoker D. How much roughly do I think I have in my M, if I don't mind talking about it? Oh, man. Well, I really only rebuilt the engine. I bought some extra sets of wheel weights. And I bought a set of those tires, but I only paid $100 for those 15.538s. I bet I have, well, including what I paid for it. I paid $1,000 for it with a stuck motor. That is way overpriced, but it is what it is. I wanted it, so I had to pay for it. I bet you I have $3,000 to $4,000 into that M just in the motor and tires and wheel weights. Oh, the loader too, but I didn't put much money in the loader. I rebuilt the cylinders, but the cylinders are extremely basic. I bet you have 3,000 to 4,000 into it. I tried to sell it for two. When I bought that Super M, that was the agreement I made with my wife. When I pulled the loader off of it and I switched the rear wheels out and kept the tires from the M, put them on the Super M, and switched the Super M back to the M, put the loader on the Super M. I I tried to get $2,000 for that Farmall M. Nothing. I didn't get a single bite on it. Brad, I agree with you. My uncle doesn't get to decide what's sentimental to me, but he does get to decide whether or not he wants to reach out to the guy. So, Pete, I'll give you his number, but I would be willing to bet my uncle wouldn't be too happy with me. If your uncle gives it no value, then I would pursue it. Well, that's a good point. Just because he wants 17,000 for it doesn't mean he'll get it. Well, I don't know if you guys know who Hans Knutson is. He's a big John Deere D guy. He's in southern Minnesota. The guy, I bought the steel wheels for the D that I had from Hans Knutson, but he has some very rare John Deere Ds. And I've asked him, because if I get another D, that's what I want. I want a Spoker D. I'm not going to settle. That's what I want. And I said, what do you think I could get into a Spoker D for that's just complete? Doesn't have to have a loose motor, doesn't have to run. I just want one that rolls and has good patina. and he told me you'll spend at least $5,000 just for a roller that's original. And then you'll put at least probably 10 into it to get it running again. Yeah, Hans is. I mean, I didn't even see any of his collection, but I've seen pictures of it on Facebook and stuff when he posts them and the videos, and he has some awesome tractors, and he's a really nice guy. So I considered buying a 1920 AD from him, but I ended up getting the one that I got um, in northwestern Minnesota. Oh, excuse me. But yeah, he's a nice guy. How much is a nickel hole D worth? They're actually worth a little bit more than the Spoker Ds because they didn't make as many of them. And there's also two different versions of the Spoker D. There's the 26-inch flywheel, the early Spoker D, and then there's the 24-inch flywheel, later Spoker D. So they changed the diameter of the flywheel and also the configuration of the steering arm because um, when the front axle would articulate that steering arm, the early ones had a straight steering arm that went from the steering column straight down to the front axle. And with the bigger flywheel, when that steering arm would articulate with the front axle, it would hit that flywheel if you came up to a big, you know, method of articulation, I'll call it. But with a 24-inch flywheel, and then they put a U-joint in the steering shaft so it came down and then went flat, they alleviated that issue. So, but the nickel hole D, I don't know if they made more or less of the nickel hole D than the early 26-inch flywheel Spoker Ds. So that's up for debate. I don't know that fact. I would say that the early Spoker D probably goes for more, but I don't know. Then there's the really, really early Spoker D where the radiator side panels are, they call them ladder sides because they're open. They have notches cut into them and it looks like a ladder. And also the radiator top tank has, instead of large cast script, it's very small. It almost looks like welds on the front of the top tank. It just says John Deere in a very thin script. So there's, that's 1923, early 1924. I think it's like the first 100 or 110 or something made had the ladder sides with the the thinner script on the tank. So you'll pay big money for those. I think there was one that sold on Mecum for like almost 200,000 or over 200,000, something like that. No, Hans isn't the guy that brings the Spoker to now then. Um, I thought that was Glenn Westfall's Spoker D, but I'm not positive. Now it would belong to the family of Glenn, unfortunately, but diesel truck mechanic, you deserve it. If you've never been to Rolog, you definitely should go. The third Spoker D was in Forks, Washington. I have some friends that work on it and knew the guy that had it. Do I think I could find a rolling Spoker D at a tractor salvage yard like Beavers? Yeah, I think they come up pretty often. I wouldn't say pretty often, but they're out there. And, a lot of times, like beavers, I know they're really great people, but they're also in business to make money. Hence why I paid $1,000 for a Farmall M that had a stuck engine. Um, if I would have bought that off of a private party, I probably would have paid $100 over scrap price, because $1,000 for a very common tractor with a stuck engine. I could have bought a running Farmall M for $1,000 or less, probably. But what I'll say is, if I get it from a place like Beavers, it won't be cheap, because first of all, Beavers knows exactly what they have. Gary and Don are both really good dudes, but they are experts when it comes to tractors, and they have massive collections with very rare items, and they're not going to let stuff go cheap. Kevin, hey, thanks for coming out. Glad you enjoyed. And yeah, I'm not far behind you. It's already 11 o'clock. Holy cow. I think, let's see, what's a good time on cutting off here? I'm not going to go as long as Rick did. Let's say quarter after 11. Let's call her quits. My daughter had me up at 5:38 this morning, I think. 5:35 or 5:38. So I'll tell you, though, that's the earliest nap she ever took. She was out by 11 a.m. My book says there were only 50 Spoker Ds with 26-inch flywheel. Yeah, so I would think that the 26-inch flywheel Spoker D is probably the rarest. Brad's tapping out. All right, sweet. Well, not sweet, but hey, thanks for stopping by. See ya now then. Jeff, he's taking off too. All right. What's a good beginner tractor to start wrenching on, in my opinion? Well, that depends. That depends on, are you looking for something that's easy to haul, easy to store, something smaller? I would say if you're looking for something smaller and easy to haul, an Alice B, Alice C, Farmall A, Farmall B, um, John Deere A. Well, not an A. That'd probably be a little bit big for easy to haul and store. A John Deere B or John Deere H, but a John Deere H will bring a premium price. Um, that's really probably the most common ones. If you're looking for something a little bit bigger, you could do a Farmall H. I mean, they're great tractors to learn on. Very simple. You got a guy that's got a series of videos that shows you how to tear them down and put them back together. John Deere A. I don't know much about the Fords as far as simplicity, but they seem pretty simple. I mean, the same principles back then, so they're probably, Ford 8N, 9N, 2N. They're probably all fairly easy to work on. And what model John Deere was used on a Green Acres opening? That was GP. Yeah, diesel truck, got it. GP. John Deere MT, that's a small one too. They're a little more rare um, than a John Deere B or I guess they're probably about as popular as a John Deere H and an MT. Well, farm all over, how much snow do you get? And what type of plow are you going to put on it for snow removal? Are you going to do a bucket or are you going to do a blade? Like a 3-point blade or a front push blade? These are all things to consider. An H is a smaller tractor, yeah. It'd be an H would be John Deere H would be similar to like around the size of a Farmall C. It'd be like between a Farmall C and a B actually. Yeah, an H can push quite a bit, but it also depends on what type of system you're going to have on it. Are you going to put, like I said, are you going to have a loader? Are you going to have a push blade? Are you going to have a 3-point blade? That makes a lot of difference. Yeah, John Deere Bs are very common and very quite inexpensive. But the early unstyled Bs, like if you get a short frame B, you're going to pay a premium price for them. 35 and 36 model B versus a long frame, you'll pay more for them, especially if it's a brass tag. Rudy has a brass tag short frame B. They're quite rare. 1935 first year model. I mean, you could do an H with a 3-point and a blade on it. That would be fine. You get a lot of wet rain snow mix, so it's heavy saturated snow. Um, Something I would probably consider is multiple sets of wheel weights, or what is better for traction is liquid in the tires, but it is very corrosive. So there's that. I personally don't have liquid in my tires, but I have used tractors with liquid in the tires, and the traction is by far superior to wheel weights. Yeah, a Cub's a good option, but you're not going to be pushing much heavy wet snow with a Cub. I would say you'd be all right with an H with some weighted rear tires, whether it's wheel weights or loaded weights or loaded tires. Yeah, I've seen people use washer fluid instead of calcium, but my only question is what's the cost difference? You know, if it's 4 times the price to use washer fluid, that's uh that's a big investment. Yeah, the problem with farmalls and 3-points is the kits are pricey. I'll give you that. I mean, the a 3-point kit for a farmall is for a good one, like a Sagana, is like $1,000 almost. So you're better off finding a tractor that has a 3-point on it. I'll tell you that. Buy a tractor for its tires and its conveniences. If the carburetor needs rebuilt, if the ignition needs to be tuned up, that's all cheap. That's cheap stuff. Tires are expensive. 3-point hitches are expensive. Yeah, the Super C is almost as much horsepower as the H. Yeah, I know that. I'm just thinking size wise, like if I'm standing next to him, the John Deere H is kind of between size in from a B to a C. It's not as small as B, but it's not as big as a C. You know what I mean? In physical size. That's how I'm looking at it. Three-point new for a Farmall is around $1,200. Mine came with one. Yeah, they're not cheap. I would almost, I don't want to get rid of the loader on my M, but I'd almost rather have a 3-point for the M so I can plow the driveway because that that loader, you can't back drag with it because it's a trip loader. So you'd have to shovel out the first 24 feet of the driveway anyway, or snow blow it. I've got that Montgomery Ward snow blower that Rudy gave me, and it runs and it works, but it's 50 years old, so it works, but it ain't the greatest. But if I could use a 3-point on the back of that M and just drag the snow away from the garage, that would be awesome. Yeah, the N series Fords, I don't know. I've never really done much work with them. A Farmall C, they're actually pretty impressive little tractors. They got quite a bit of power for their size, and they are actually quite the powerful little tractor. We had a plow on a 1950 Farmall C, and it did really well pushing snow. Of course, we had loaded tires and tire chains too, and wheel weights. So traction is everything when it comes to plowing snow. Haya wants to know, how many members do you have in the Relics Tractor Club? Uh, I'm going to say 30 ish. We don't have an official list, really. It's just people that, family members and friends that all get together at the Now Then Threshing Show, and we kind of self proclaimed ourselves the Relics. And, we keep inviting people like Ben and Mike, GMC Cracker Jack Box Truck Mike from Florida, Ben's from Nebraska, obviously Hans from Colorado. So when we meet people that kind of spark our interest in them in the hobby, then we'll just say, hey, if you're in the area and you want to come hang out with us, you're more than welcome to come hang out with us. It's not like an official deal. We don't have a club membership fee. We don't do. We try to do meetings at least once a year, but we don't always get around to it. But in some form or another, we're all interacting throughout the year. So put a grater blade on the M loader. I don't really want to take away from that loader being original. Same with converting it to hydraulic dump. I don't want to take away from that thing being original. It'd be handy. It's just those loaders are getting harder and harder to find, especially in good shape, not all welded up and, you know. Plus they have the original sales brochure for that loader. That's pretty cool. Camper pink antifreeze works the best, but will still freeze at -20. Well, then it's probably close to -20 here right now, and it's February. Yep, Super C had a fast hitch. Hunting and stuff says, take care, Kenny. I'm done for the night. All right, man. Thanks for stopping by. Did all C's come with the fast hitch? It was certain years that did. Well, Domino, his Super C does not have a fast hitch on it. So I think it was probably an option at first because I think he's got an early Super C, but it probably became standard at some point. Buddy has a Super C with a loader with blade and 2-point with back blade. Grades his driveway with both blades down at the same time. Double rear wheel weights. Can't remember if the tires are loaded. Only the last couple years and was option, I believe, on just the Super Cs. I have a Case VAC tractor with a blade. Those cases are nice tractors too. Yeah, you're very right on that one. A VAC is kind of a smaller tractor, but an SC or a DC with a DC with a loader would be good. But I'm always hesitant to put loaders on tractors with a hand clutch because it's just one more thing for your hand to work. You get the steering wheel, you get the throttle, you get the clutch, you get the hydraulic lever, and it's kind of a lot of this. Granted, you're not always touching the throttle, but did the Super C have live PTO and hydraulics? I don't believe it had the live PTO, but it did have live hydraulics. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I might be wrong on the PTO, but it definitely had live hydraulics. I don't believe it had a live PTO. All right, we got a couple minutes left here, and then I'm turning it in. Yep, C had live hydraulics, but not PTO as well. Same with the Cub. Not all Cubs, but most Cubs had live hydraulics, but not a live PTO. Super A, same thing. Live hydraulics, not a live PTO. I don't think the live PTO came out until the Super MTA. I don't even think the Super H had a live PTO. I think it was just the Super MTA. Diesel truck has a DV tractor, which is a DK standard, but it's a vineyard model, so it's basically a high crop in one form or another. That's a pretty rare tractor for sure. I always wonder why they didn't build an SV. I would have thought the S series would have made a little bit lighter weight, better on fuel option for a vineyard tractor, but I don't know. They got the Orchard, the SO, but yeah, I know the Super MTA had the live PTO, but I don't think any of the other letter series had it. I think that's the only one. But anyways, it's quarter after, so yeah, you can get the M&W live hand clutch on there on an H or an M, but from what I understand, they're almost impossible to get parts for those M&W hand clutches. But anyways, I'm gonna turn it in, fellas. Hyatt, good to see you. Monica, I don't know if you're still watching, but it's always a pleasure to talk to you and hear from you through the chat. So, Lee, appreciate it. Farm all lover, same thing. Thanks for watching, guys. Nate. Hey, Nate's here. Good to see you, man. There's a farmer I knew who had an MTA and the farm sold, so his son parked it in the woods because they wouldn't sell it. Now it's just rotting away. It's a shame, isn't it? But diesel truck, good talk. Well, I'm glad I could bring the the Three Musketeers to a close. The only thing we were missing was Squatch. If Squatch would have dropped one, it would have been a quartet. But all right, guys, I'm signing out. I'm going to hit the red button. You guys take care, and if I end up doing another live stream, it probably won't be till Tuesday evening. But I don't know. I kind of use that evening to relax before I go back to work on Wednesday. Finally. So you guys take care and see you later.